On today's show, Luka Doncic denied making demands that the Mavericks need to upgrade the roster before the trade deadline, but something has changed between Luka and the organization. We'll talk about what that is and more on today's Locked On Mavs.
I'm Luka Doncic, and this is Locked On Mavericks.
Mavericks, NBA champions. Bang! It's good, and the Mavericks have won the game.
We don't believe you shouldn't be here.
Loyalty never fades away.
No, it don't. And welcome. You are locked on to the Dallas Mavericks. My name is Nick Angstadt, media member and NBA channel manager for the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks for making Locked On Mavs your first listen each and every day. Remember, Locked On Mavs is free and available on all podcast platforms. But the best way you can help us grow the show is to comment anything below. Let us know what's one roster move the Mavs have to make. One that maybe you think Luka wants them to make? Let us know. Today's episode is brought to you by LinkedIn. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the qualified candidates you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNBA. And joining me, as always, my co-host, writer, contributor at Mavs.com, the traveling tourist, the One More Thing King. What you got for me, Isaac Harris?
What's the streak at now of games that I miss and the Mavs lose?
I think just overall, any solo show, I think we're down. I think we're below 500 any solo show we've done.
Now it's just turned into, hey, if it's a solo show game, then it's a loss.
Yeah, it's going to be a loss for the Mavericks. So, yeah, yesterday I hosted the Hawks game solo, and the Mavericks lost. So,
a little bit of news. We actually didn't talk about this before we record. The Christian Wood, thumb injury came out yesterday. That he's going to be reevaluated in a week. It's like, you know what? We can't have nice things, can we? We get some guys back.
I know.
And it's like, we're so excited. Let's see these guys all play together. Bam. Christian Wood out at least for a week.
And Jeff Stotts at In Street Clothes on Twitter had a great couple tweets about this. Said, the thumb is a complex joint. The location of the fracture and any possible associated ligament damage will dictate treatment plans and subsequent time lost. He talks about the certain kind of fracture it could be. There's one specific one that could be a best case scenario. He's talked about a lot of different. There's a lot of different players that have missed like less than 6 games with a thumb fracture. Andre Karolinko, Brad Miller, and Domantas Sabonis was playing through it this season. If you've seen Sabonis with the wrapped up hand, so Christian Wood's gonna be reevaluated in a week, which would make him miss. Let's see, he'd miss 1, 2, 3, 4 games at least. And so we'll see what happens there. It could be a little bit longer, but this is not a season-ending injury. I see a bunch of, the Mavericks should tank now. It's like, okay.
Oh.
Christian Wood's season isn't over, and then there's more reasons for that is wrong on top of that.
I guess we won't get DMs for a week.
Today's episode, we are going to get into Luka Doncic, the report that he wants the Mavericks to make some roster upgrades. Mark Cuban denies it. Luka Doncic denied it. But in all of that, hullabaloo, there was something we learned about Luka and the Mavericks, and we'll talk about that, and then we'll talk about some more trade rumors, some more Mavs news, and could the Mavs be going after Cam Reddish? We'll talk about Cam Reddish and the Reddish army that's out there. We need a name.
Get excited.
We need a name for the Reddish army. Let's start with this. I talked about this a little bit yesterday. Wanted to bring Isaac in and get on this, but according to ESPN, sources say Luka Doncic, who hasn't shown a desire to be involved in personnel matters in the past, has strongly indicated he wants the Mavs to upgrade before the February 9th trade deadline. What was your reaction when you first heard that piece of news?
I laughed. I was like, good for him. Like, cool. No, I think it's, it shows his relationship, kind of with them. And, we've talked about it a million times that, when we talk about the Reddish stuff, we'll talk about Mark Stein reporting it. But, there's a handful of people that we all trust with Mavs news that we talked about this for years. And, you're looking at the Tim McMahons, you're looking at the Mark Steins, obviously Woj, Shams, and, those guys, Tim Cato, covering the beat with Athletic, Dallas Morning News stuff. But that group of people who, Jake Fisher, now he's with Yahoo and stuff, that when they report Mav stuff, we're going to cover that.
Yeah.
And, over the past, 48 hours, we've had both of them, McMahon and Stein, two of the biggest ones, have, a couple bit of Mavs news. So, when both those guys report something,
the ears perk up, the antennas go up.
Tim McMahon's not going to report something that is false. So, there's some merit to that. And, I just looked at it and I started laughing. We were texting about it and I was like, well, we know what's going to happen. Like Luka's going to get asked about it after the Hawks game. This is before the Hawks even happened. And I was like, he's just going to deny it because he's the ultimate teammate. And I think there's just some ways for it all to be like true, right? Like there's a way that, Luka maybe not directly said it, but maybe Bill Duffy did. Luka and Bill Duffy was talking about it. And it's like, all right, Bill's like, I'm okay. If you're not going to do it, I'm going to say it.
Yeah.
And then Bill leaks it out to Tim. You always got to ask, like, who's going to win in these reports? Like, who's wanting this report to get out? And if there's somebody that's wanting this report to get out, it's probably Bill Duffy. Because he's like, I want my client to play on good teams and go win a freaking championship. So Bill probably, talked to the front office, and then he just leaked it out to Tim. I don't know this, but I'm just saying that could be that would make sense, right? And what are you going to do if you're Mark Cuban? You're going to deny it too, even if it is true. Like you're going to deny it and say, no, it's not true.
Mark Cuban is the what's the everything skit when we were in youth group at church, where they have all the different like people that represent different sins.
You're all that
yeah, there's the one main human that's always a girl, and then there's the kid that plays Jesus that's always like the most popular kid in youth group. And the kid has to stand between all the sins and the person, right? That's Mark Cuban the other day, right? When Mark Cuban denies that Luka indicated he won the roster, and he emails Tim McMahon, it says, Tim McMahon got it dead wrong. Luka has never suggested, asked, demanded, or discussed changes to the roster. Luka and Nico have a great relationship. They talk almost daily. Luka knows exactly what we have going on and is very supportive. That's Mark Cuban standing in between like the everything sketch, like holding back everybody and trying to just like defend Luka and not make Luka seem like, oh, he's demanding this, he's whining about this, and make his teammates look bad too, because this was one of the whole points about the murals, that Mark Cuban thought it was disrespectful because like Luka, please send help, that sign in the mural that we talked about a couple of days ago.
Not just Cuban. Luka didn't like that too. Like I've seen so many people getting mad.
But why Mark Cuban came out and like defended Luka with this.
Yeah, I just, I'm so done with the mural. The mural stories are so dumb. But like
the mural guy went on the ticket with our friend Jake Kemp, and it was hilarious.
Did you talk to this PR team? I've seen so many people talking about, just blaming Cuban for the mural. And it's like Mavs are censoring, all this. I'm like, guys, Luka reached out to like
Luka didn't want them to put it.
Luka didn't want the mural too. So, but no, here's the thing with the back and forth, or Cuban saying his thing. Let's say Luka did have a sit down with Nico, Mark, Dirk, all of them. They chatting, and Luka's like, yeah, I really want, like, let's say they're kind of like taking the temperature of Luka, and they're saying, hey, like, where are you at right now? And let's say Luka did say, yeah, I want us to swing for something right now. Like, I'm playing dang good basketball. Like, I'm MVP candidate, like type. Like, I want us to really go for it. I don't want to like waste a year, kind of just, tread the water a little bit. You know who doesn't want that to get out? Luka. So when it does get out, if it's true, if it does get out, you know who's going to be pissed and doesn't want Luka to be pissed? Mark Cuban.
Yep.
So what do? You step in front of it. Like, no, that's not true. You got that dead wrong. And it's like, they're probably pissed that it got out if it is true. And it's like, you just don't want that to get out. So there's no win in that getting out.
Here's the change though. Mark Cuban said it in that, denial. Luka Doncic said it post game. Mark Cuban said, Luka and Nico have a great relationship. They talk almost daily. Luka knows exactly what we have going on and is very supportive. After the Mavs Hawks game, Luka was asked about this whole ordeal and said, obviously people who are next to me, who I talk to, they know that this report is not true. I didn't say anything about that. I talked to Nico Harrison and Michael Finley more than I used to. That's just the way I talk to them. We have been in great communication, and that stays just between us. Coming up, let's talk about why that is a big change. That Luka is all of a sudden now talking to Nico and Michael Finley more than he used to. And I think that's a big change from what Luka has done in the past. We'll talk about that coming up. But before we do, let me tell you about LinkedIn. LinkedIn Jobs helps you to find the right candidates that you want. Go ahead and post your job at LinkedIn Jobs or at linkedin.com/LockedOnNBA, and you can find the qualified candidates to your open jobs with targeting tools. Go beyond the resume data by using insights from your job post, the company, and their 875 million member profiles. You're casting a wide net with this. Identify the most qualified candidates on LinkedIn Jobs and connect with them fast and for free. LinkedIn Jobs makes it easy to screen and rate applicants based on your job qualifications, all on one platform. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the qualified candidates you want to talk to faster, point blank. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNBA. That's linkedin.com/LockedOnNBA to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. All right, Isaac Harris, we've been talking about the report that Luka Doncic wants the Mavericks to make roster upgrades. Mark Cuban denied it. Luka Doncic denied it. But in their denial, they gave us some more info. Isaac is now completely in the dark.
I'm sorry. Well, it's either in the dark or I have Peter Pan's shadow behind me. So I don't know.
As long as it doesn't start moving on its own, I think and shutting itself in a drawer.
What do you want? Do you want Peter Pan shadow or do you want dark?
Give me the shadow.
All right,
the audio listeners don't care about this at all.
Not at all.
Change is that Luka Doncic is talking to the front office more, and that Luka Doncic is being more vocal in whatever way he's being vocal. Maybe not making demands about the roster being upgraded, but he's talking to the front office more. And I think that's a change because in the past, part of Tim Cato's question to Luka after the Hawks game was, in the past you've said that you wanted to avoid, having any kind of say or influence on the roster, and I feel like that the tide is starting to change on that.
What was Cuban's direct comment about how much they talk, him and Nico?
Almost daily. They talk almost daily.
What are the odds that that's true?
That Luka and Nico talk almost daily? They got
daily?
They got
we
text.
talk daily. But what do we we're sitting in like...
You think they have a secret podcast?
How many screenshots did I send you yesterday of like trades? And you
think Luka's on Tradespo or Fanspo and just looking up trade machine trades?
We talk about
look where we can send JaVale McGee.
From like, is Nico and Luka, are they playing chess together? Like, I'm just trying to figure out what they talk about every day. They're not talking about the roster every day, unless Luka's really texting about JaVale every single day. It's like,
well,
hey,
they got some things in common, right? Nico used to play, college hoops, so they got some. They can talk about hoops. And
hey, did you see the shoes coming out? Do you like this dunk?
They got shoes. They got shoes they can talk about. And Nico can say, "Hey, look at these Nikes. They're better than Jordan brands." Like the whole internal.
But in all honesty, there is, I don't know when the shift happened. Like, I'm not sitting there saying, or, we're not trying to like pull this and say, hey, this changed over the past month that they're talking every day.
Doesn't matter when it changed. It has.
We don't know when it did. I mean, there has been, and I don't think this is like unique to like Luka in the front office. This is just what happens with a star player going into as their season progresses. Or as their career progresses. Like rookie Luka Doncic, 2018, isn't having the same type of conversations, right? Like, he's earned that respect now. He is that guy. He is, as the kids say, him. And he deserves those conversations.
Come on, Isaac.
It is cool for him to kind of like, acknowledge that, because Cato's right. He used to be very clear. He's like, yeah, I just want to play basketball. I'm not involved in all that. He is involved now. Yep. So now, didn't get him Dragic, so I don't know how involved he is, but he's involved and he's having, those conversations. So I'm really curious with, I think there's a world that all of them are true in these public, comments, whatever. We also know that, Cuban likes to try to take the light off of situations sometimes to try to point it on him. Like I would do if I was an owner, and if I was in his boat and this got out, I would be doing the exact same thing.
I'd just be pointing at the Suns right now, like look what's going on down the road there, like.
Yeah, and what's Mark supposed to say? Yeah, Luka, he met with us the other day and he wants us to, upgrade the roster.
He just can't stand that JaVale's still on this roster, like.
So I am curious of what this means for, like, are you really going to read into it if? In 3 weeks or, in 2 weeks, they're trading a first round pick for something.
Oh, 100%.
Like,
I'm reading into that. If that happens, then all of a sudden this whole narrative of they have a great relationship. Luka and Nico, talk almost daily. Luka says, I talk to them more than I used to. Then all of a sudden, if they trade a first or something, then we know there's real pressure. And that's the thing I think that can change about this is how much pressure is Luka putting on them to make changes. He might not be, right? This may be just starting where he's talking about things on the roster and what things that he wishes the Mavericks would do. And it may not have gotten to the point where if they traded a first round pick, I would be concerned. Like I would be concerned about how much pressure Luka is putting on this front office because it just doesn't make any sense, strategically to do that at this point before the trade deadline. But If they make a couple moves here and there, then maybe we know that Luka's putting a little bit of pressure on them.
Yeah. So question for you. I know we're going to talk about Cam Reddish and stuff in a little bit. So I'm kind of,
this is a big conversation.
Well, I mean, Mark Stein, literally probably just writing that newsletter just to add the Mavericks, or that it wasn't even like a long newsletter. It was literally like the Mavericks are in the running for this, for Cam Reddish sweepstakes. Let's go. But we were kind of talking the other day, and I guess it was 2 pods ago, and it was in the 3rd segment, and that's when I said, "Hey, outside of Luka, I think Josh is the second most coveted asset on the team. I think he's the least likely to be traded." So a question for you, if you had to rank these 3 in order of least likely to be traded: 1st round pick, Josh Green, Jaden Hardy.
Least likely to be traded, 1st round pick.
Yeah. Okay.
Then Josh Green, then Jaden Hardy.
Okay.
I think
I sent out a tweet yesterday and I said, "Hey, what's like a realistic Mavs trade that would make you the most mad?" Got so many different things, but a common thing I've seen on there was Jaden Hardy's untouchable. If he's if he's in any deal, I'm bad. It's like, well, I think if he got us, a really good sidekick to Luka, you'd be okay. But
yeah,
it did make me think about it. I'm like, I wonder where in the fan base Josh Green versus Jaden Hardy is for who's the most untouchable, even though nearly one of them are.
You have to also look at some of those guys and be like, all right, well, what's their value at now? What could it possibly be? Like, what's the ceiling for Jaden Hardy is what you have to decide. I don't know if we don't know that yet, right? We haven't seen enough from him to know that. We've seen him grow from 1 year in the G League Ignite to this year in the G League. He was way better, way more efficient. We've seen him score in bunches in the NBA at times against various different opponents, right? It's a lot of times in garbage time. Sometimes it's been, a couple games recently he's scored well. And then we've seen him struggle a lot. So he's not a known commodity right now. Josh Green's becoming a known commodity. Like he's further along, as he should be. He's in year 3 now. And he's becoming a known commodity where, okay, he's a really good fit next to Luka, where he can defend, he can shoot the ball, he can, pass like nobody else on the Mavericks besides Luka. It just adds something to this roster. But if the Mavericks go out and they get like a point guard, a Terry Rozier, or somebody else that can do some of those things, then that doesn't stand out as much on the Mavericks either, right? Like when we see Josh Green do a behind-the-back pass, we're like, oh my gosh, somebody else on the team made a play. Like, what if somebody else could come in and do that? Would it stand out as much? It would still be good and he would still be valuable, but it wouldn't be seemingly as valuable as he is right now. And I think
it's more like when he dunks, like when we have a perimeter player dunk, we're like, whoa, do we clip that?
But with him and with Hardy, you have to give up something to get something. If you want to upgrade in some way, like Isaac said, those are the 3 assets the Mavericks have, is those 2 guys, and they have, the first round pick, a couple first round picks right now, 2027, 2029, that they can trade right now. And then when the 2023 draft comes, they can trade all their future first round picks. Yeah. And the Mavericks have contracts. They have a bunch of contracts that they're flexible. Like Nico Harrison made the Porzingis trade so that they can be flexible and have different contracts. They have, $20 million of Dinwiddie, $19 million of Tim Hardaway that are not like negative assets, right? Like they're fine. No. They're not adding. That's not sweetening the deal a lot, but they're not negative assets. You have the Davis Bertans one that is a negative asset. Yeah. I don't think Christian Wood's $14 million is a negative asset right now, right?
No, it's not
in a trade. And so like you have these different contracts that you can. Dwight Powell's is probably not either. $11 million expiring. Because it's expiring, it's not in a negative asset. So you have all these different contracts that you can put in some kinds of trades. And so they are set up to make some kind of move. It just depends on, all right, how much pressure is Luka putting on them? And then what kind of move do they make? They can't fix all, they're not going to be able to fix all their problems this deadline, right? Or this trade deadline, or maybe even this offseason. But they have to try this offseason. We'll see what kind of holes they can fill at the trade deadline.
Yeah, and I don't even think there is a Luka's putting pressure type thing. I mean, I could be wrong. I don't think it's a Luka's putting pressure. He's checking in once a week. Where are we at? Where are we trading for this guy? Are we chasing this guy? Like,
wait. You don't think he's putting pressure, but you think Tim McMahon was right that the in the article that says he strongly indicated he wants the Mavericks to upgrade?
I think there's
like that's not pressure.
I'm going with the verb of putting. Like putting pressure to me means like there's a constant check-in and it's a like, hey, what are we doing? Blah, 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 blah. I could read Tim McMahon's thing and say, hey, he's indicated that he does want him to, like, I mean,
it'd be nice.
Yeah, like I took that as they chatted not too long ago, and hey, where are we at? Like getting Lucas feel for the roster, and this is just what I feel. And it's like, how we feeling? Do you think we're far away? And if I'm Luka, I'm saying, man, I'm MVP right now. Like,
yeah,
I'm feeling great. I don't want to just tread water and say we'll just swing for the offseason. Like, let's try to upgrade now and make a run. Look what we did last year. We can make another run this year. The West is wide open right now, so that's what I feel like. And that somehow got back to Tim or from Duffy, whatever. And there you go. So
coming up, let's talk about Cam Reddish. Let's talk about some of the Raptors guys. We got an article with sources about what the Raptors guys may cost. Can the Mavericks pay any of those prices? We'll talk about that coming up. But before we do, let me tell you about Built Bar. We're back on the ASMR Built Bar. ASMR. Everyone loved it so much. We're bringing it back. That is false. Built Bar is a protein bar. It tastes like a candy bar. They're absolutely delicious. I love these brownie batter puffs. I just ordered some in the mail. 140 calories, 17 grams of protein,
tastes so good.
6 grams of sugar. They're absolutely delicious, and they don't have a ton of sugar. Today, I went to Portillo's, which is delicious. It's new.
I've heard about this place.
In the Colony. Mark Stein really promoted it. It's from Chicago, and they have a chocolate cake shake. They literally take a chocolate shake and they dump a piece of chocolate cake, frosting and all, into the shake. It's delicious. Honestly,
it sounds like it'd kill me.
The difference between the amount of sugar in that and this bar and the difference between the amount of taste in this bar and that bar are so far off. It's great. It's so wild. You don't have to have all that sugar that's in a cake shake like that. You can get it in a Built Bar if you want it to tide you over. You can go get them at Walmart, select flavors. You can go get select flavors at Sam's Club as well. You can also get them online still at built.com. All right, Isaac Harris, let's talk about some more rumors. The Dallas Mavericks are now, according to some sources, Mavericks are in on Cam Reddish along with the Lakers and the Timberwolves, I believe was the other team. And now let's talk about Cam Reddish because there's a lot of comments and DMs and tweets about the Mavs. Just go get Cam Reddish. Go get him. He's the answer to, they need some budding talent, and he's the guy.
Yeah, I mean, he's the reason why the Hawks won the trade, right? So
he was supposed to be.
So if the Mavs trade for Cam Reddish, does that mean that we could do the whole thing? So that means that they got Luka. They didn't even have to give up their 2019 pick. That means it was just Luka for Trey and all that crap. He's 23, he's 6'8", he's a career 32% three-point shooter. If it means a second round pick, sure. Like when it comes to top 10 picks, in the first 3 to 4 years of their career, especially a wing, I am more inclined to give it a shot on it in a winning culture. But I'm not sitting here saying like, man, go get him. It's changing everything. I'm not that in love with it.
McKinley Wright has been out recently with an injury. And before that, though, he was playing more than Jaden Hardy. And there are some upset Mavs fans that said, why is McKinley Wright or why is Frank Ntilikina playing? You even have been frustrated with why is Frank Ntilikina playing over Jaden Hardy? You know exactly why those two guys are playing over Jaden Hardy? Because they play defense. Guess what Cam Reddish doesn't do? Play defense. Josh Green played 20 minutes the other night. Now he's just coming back from injury, but he only played 20 minutes against the Hawks and played really well. He should have played more. Guess who's not getting minutes on the Mavericks this year? Cam Reddish at all. He's not playing for Jason Kidd. He is not the type of player Jason Kidd wants to play. If he's not going to play Jaden Hardy, who's like jumped through all the hoops and done all the things that the Mavericks want him to do this year, and the Mavericks should be invested in because they have him for a long term here, then they're not going to play Cam Reddish. He's not the answer to me. The suggestions of they should just trade Bullock because that was in the report. The Knicks want Reggie Bullock back to play, and they're like, and some Mavs fans were like, let's do it. Trade Bullock for Cam Reddish straight up. That would be the biggest mistake I think they could make in any kind of Cam Reddish trade. Is even though Reggie Bullock hasn't been great this year, right? I'm not trying to pretend like he's as good as he was in the playoff run last year or the best he's played in his career. His shooting has come around recently, but you don't trade a guy like Reggie Bullock for Cam Reddish if your team wants to win right now. That's just it's so going backwards.
I'm not trading Reggie Bullock for
It doesn't
Cam
work
Reddish.
salary wise either. So
No, I'm sorry, I can't do that. The way I would trade for Cam Reddish is if it's like kind of like a Christian Wood trade 2.0. It's like a Frank Ntilikina and a second round pick, or Ntilikina. Like, would you rather have Frank or Cam Reddish? Like, I think I would rather. Like, I could see the appeal of having Cam Reddish of saying, all right, it's a bigger wing, right?
it's the quantity you don't know instead of the quantity that you do know.
But it's more of, hey, you're taking a swing on a guy. It's kind of,
Yeah.
I mean, the Christian Wood thing was taking a swing on a guy who had talent, just hadn't put it together on a good team yet. Could Cam Reddish be a similar type of thing? You know, I don't think Cam Reddish is starting, but it's like, if it meant like you're just taking a swing and you're giving up an expiring Frank Ntilikina, kind of like you gave up expirings for and a pick for Christian Wood. I'm not giving up a first for Reddish, but if it's like Frank and a second for Cam Reddish, sure. Like, that's take the swing.
Yeah.
And I think an underrated like thing is, I think we've seen a little bit of development from like from Jason Kidd's like coaching staff.
Yeah.
Like Jaden Hardy, seen Josh Green some. So I'd like to see, Cam Reddish here for a cheap price. It doesn't change a ton for me this season if they get him.
Yeah, I'd be down for a move like that. If it's Frank, even if it's JaVale and you're like, hey, their salaries match up. So if you say, hey,
oh, well, yeah.
With Mitchell Robinson missing some time for the Knicks, like, hey, we can bring in JaVale, and then all of a sudden you get out from under that little contract, and then you can say, okay, well, then all of a sudden it's a financial move, and then you also take a swing on Cam Reddish. So I'm down for that. I just don't think that it would make any change this season, right? Like, that's a move.
It would just be depth.
That's a move where you're maybe adding some depth, a guy that could be a wild card. Like a really poor man's Karis LeVert, right? When we talked about Karis LeVert, how he could be sort of like a wild card for the Mavs at certain times.
Or it's something to where you're doing your due diligence for if you do something bigger. Like if Reggie or Tim is in another deal, or if if you're talking about a bigger deal with the Knicks and it's Hartenstein and Reddish for a player.
You have my attention.
Or even if it's, you're not too big a fan of this one, but even if it's like Derrick Rose and Reddish for something in Dallas, like I could see that being the type of thing of like, hey, we're interested in him as like a throw in, to the deal, and like we'd take a swing or something like that. So yeah, I mean, it's cool. Would you rather have Reddish or Rui?
Rui, I think.
Me too.
Rui is interesting because he's also available. The Wizards are trying to weigh if they're going to trade Kuzma and or Rui Hachimura. They have this quote unquote log jam at wing is what the report said on The Athletic.
Yeah.
You're like, okay, if all your wings are just like slightly below average or slightly above average, do you have a log jam at wing? You just have to figure out which ones are good and which ones are not.
Yeah.
But also, I've seen some Wizards fans say, or was in Wizards media, that they're just trying to trade Rui so that they could re-sign Kyle Kuzma and not have to, and not go into the luxury tax or anything. Like, they're literally just doing that. So Rui may not cost a lot at all because they're like, it's forcing the Wizards' hand right now how good Kuzma's playing. I'm totally down for Rui. I think he answers a couple things. He's farther in his development than Cam Reddish. He's bigger than Cam. Like he would play, I think.
Yeah, I don't know how he played, but I would love that type of swing for a Rui. I've always liked Rui. I want to see him in a different situation than Washington.
He's Jordan Brand too, right?
Yeah.
There you go. You got the connection.
Him and Luka there and all that. But I'm glad you feel the same way about Reddish and Reggie. I got worried about that at first, but
no, you don't got me. Quickly though, there was in the Toronto Star, Doug Smith, the reporter, wrote up about the Raptors' assets and what they have. They are now 6 games under 500, which is like another low point. I saw I think it was William Liu, who's a Raptors reporter. Somebody tweeted another nail in the coffin to the Raptors season. He said, how many nails does a coffin need? Because the season has gone so badly for them. But according to sources to the Toronto Star, OG Anunoby, it would take 2 promising players on team-friendly deals to pry and a pick to pry him away. So for the
I don't know what promising players mean, but
I think Josh Green is one of those. And then the Mavericks don't have any others, I don't think. And so you'd have to probably send 2 picks for OG Anunoby, which is like about what we thought he was going to cost.
Yeah.
Fred VanVleet is fetch at least the price of Anunoby, if not more. That one's kind of interesting. He's a free agent though, so I can't imagine it would cost the same as OG.
I don't understand why Toronto would trade OG. Of all the guys that they like, you have Scotty Barnes. OG seems like a guy to play with Scotty Barnes, but anyway, okay.
Pascal Siakam, he'd be 3 for 1 plus picks. Like you'd have to send some really good, like some young players plus 3 or 4 picks and all that. Like,
Donovan Mitchell package.
It would cost a lot to get Pascal Siakam. We've known that the Mavericks can pay that price, but it would just be this summer.
Yeah.
Gary Trent Jr. The Raptors.
This one made me LOL.
The Raptors would need to ask for a player and multiple picks in return. Okay, is multiple picks? You're not getting multiple firsts for Gary Trent Jr. And also,
that's how I took that.
He's a flat out scorer, and they aren't readily available. Hey, guess what? Yes, they are. Like there's
everybody's a scorer.
Every team has scorers. Like how many? I think every team has a 20-point per game scorer, or at least 2, or sometimes 3. Like,
have we not seen all the narratives this year? Like, oh my gosh, why is
scoring his way up? Like, yeah,
we have 182 players averaging 25 points.
I feel like every team has a Tim Hardaway Jr. or a Clarkson or like somebody like that, or a Kyle Kuzma. Like even everybody has somebody like that. So that's the prices of the Raptors, guys. I think the Mavericks. I don't know if they can pay the OG or the Fred VanVleet prices this year, like in season, but they can next season. But
I mean, that's mid-January prices. We know the price is going to go down first few weeks of February, and Gary Trent's getting going for a first. A protected first and something else, and it's like, all right, what happened to the Doug Smith article? And so everybody's doing their posturing now. I mean, Doug Smith's covered the Raptors for, it feels like forever. And, if there's one guy who has probably, knows people in the organization's like, hey, this is a price tag, like get this thing out there. So you want everybody right now to hear this is the high price tag. And then once February hits, they start coming down.
Thinking about what you just said, and as I was reading that, I was thinking that. I was like, oh, those prices aren't as high as I thought they were, considering what the John Collins price was reportedly a couple of days ago, where it was like they expect a Rudy Gobert type package for John Collins. I was like, excuse me? Excuse me? And then that dropped, and now it's like, well, maybe we'll take Jared Vanderbilt and something else from the Jazz. Okay. It's a little different, but
I think we'll take a box of Cheerios.
Let us know in the comment section. What's one roster move the Mavericks have to make? What do you think about Luka and the organization and the change in their relationship? Let us know in the comment section below. We will be back tomorrow. I'll be back with a post. Oh, it's another solo. Maybe I got to get somebody else to join me, so it's not a solo post game pod.
Be driving home to Dallas.
Mavs versus Heat. I will have the post game pod for you afterwards. And then we'll have one for you Sunday as well after the Mavs and after the Cowboys game. Now that the Mavericks game has been moved up until 1:30 local time on Sunday. So
Mavs and boys getting a win on the same day. Let's do it.
Oh, let's do it again. Let's do it. Guys, thanks so much for listening to Locked On Mavs.
Peace out.
Boom.